Hey friends, this is Jordan with O&Co Games. We're a small indie studio working on a precision platformer called TetherGeist, and we've been building it using GameMaker for over 4 years now. For this tutorial, I've teamed up with the folks at GameMaker to provide you a step-by-step guide to conducting effective playtests for your game. I think this is a critical step in taking your game to that next level. Making a game is one thing, but making a game people want to play is another thing entirely, and playtesting is at the center of ensuring you're moving in the right direction. So in this video, I'll be walking you through how to conduct effective playtests and what to do with the data you gather. We'll go over tips on how complete your game needs to be to start playtesting. Spoiler, it can be very early prototypes. How to recruit participants, best practices for what to playtest, and how to go about playtesting it. It's more involved than just sending a game out and asking for feedback, what to do with the information you gather, and how to make edits to your game as you continue playtesting. I've been doing several forms of iterative validation testing for over a decade in my career in user experience, and as we've been applying these methods to TetherGeist, we've seen some outstanding results. If you can really get playtesting right, it will make all the difference for your game. Okay, so let's first talk about how complete your game actually needs to be before you can start playtesting. In earnest, you should be playtesting your game as soon as there's something even remotely playable. I know you probably want to wait until the artwork is looking good enough or the sound effects are in, but truthfully, you don't need all of that stuff to start. In fact, the sooner you start, the better off you'll be. You'll be able to test if your idea is really worth making and catch glaring issues early. So even if all your game has are some basic mechanics and wireframes, as long as it can be shared and works relatively okay, you can start playtesting. Keep in mind, the best kind of playtesting happens iteratively throughout the whole development process. Early playtests aren't going to be the only chance you have to test your game out, so in the early phases, maybe you're just testing mechanics, and later on you can test how readable your artwork is or how intuitive level designs are. In other words, playtesting isn't just a single step you check off before finishing your game. Instead, it's an integral part of building your game. Make stuff, test it. Make more stuff, test it. Change stuff, test it. You get the idea. So once you have at least a semi-functional version of your game, you're ready to recruit participants. I commonly hear fellow indie developers ask, where can I find people to playtest my game? I've already tested it with all of my friends. I've found that there are insane amounts of people who are eager to playtest new game ideas. More often, the difficulty isn't so much finding enough players, but instead the challenge lies in finding the right players. People who are in your target audience and want to play your genre of game. For example, if you're making a precision platformer like we are, you want to find people who like challenging games centered around movement, not necessarily people who prefer cozy games designed to be relaxing. It's also worth noting that for each round of playtests, you really only need to test your game with around 5 to 8 people. Any more than that, and you'll just start seeing the same trends. Your 10th player, for example, is likely not going to show you anything terribly new that you didn't already learn from your first 5 players. So with that context, here are some tips I have for finding people to play your game. First and foremost, find people online. Any social channels you have with a decent following are a good place to start. People who are following your socials are people who are in your target audience. Go figure. For us, we have a healthy little following on YouTube from our devlog series that has turned into a Discord server of over 1,000 people. Even if your server is much smaller, it's a great place to find playtesters. Sometimes you can even piggyback off of other Discord servers if they have a project share channel. We had someone do just that recently in our server asking for playtests, and he got a couple of new people to test his game out. You can also always jump on sites like Reddit or even help forums for your game engine to find playtesters. I guess what I'm saying is that the internet is a huge place. You can find people to playtest your game all over it. Write up a post asking for playtesters and include a link to something like a Google form where playtesters can identify their interests and experience with your game, as well as the best way you can contact them. Beyond that, there are many ways you can find playtesters in person. If you can afford a Steam Deck, put a build of your game on that and bring it with you to events where you can hand people the Steam Deck and ask them to play your game. I've even set up a booth at my local farmers market where I was able to get all sorts of new people to playtest my game. Whatever the case is, I'm really just trying to say you don't need to limit yourself to just playtesting with people you already know. I should also note that some of you might be worried about sharing your game early because you think your idea is amazing and you don't want someone to steal it. It's a common concern, and I used to worry about that kind of stuff too, until I learned that having a good idea is kind of the easy part. It's the execution that's hard, actually making it. Nobody is going to steal your idea because of a playtest you sent them, or ruin your game's potential because they make something similar. Even if they do steal your idea, they're not going to make the game the same way you are going to make it. Not to mention, you kind of can't really know if your idea is actually good unless you playtest it. Okay, heart to heart over, you've got your prototype, you've got your playtesters, now you're ready to actually go out and conduct your playtests. Whether you playtest in person or online, there are some best practices for how to make sure your playtests are as impactful as they can be. For the sake of this video, I'll be assuming you're conducting playtests online. There are many ways you can send your game to players. My favorite method is to host your game on itch.io and set up a password so you can ensure only your intended playtesters get access to your prototype. Depending on your project and needs, you can either conduct these playtests synchronously over a call, like on Zoom or in a Discord lobby with a screen share, or you can have players record their playthroughs and send them to you, which has become my personal favorite method. You can test with more people and you can watch the videos at 2 times speed. Anyway, regardless of the method you choose, it's important that you set the right expectations with your playtesters. Before they even open the game, you'll want to communicate to them the status of the build. For example, if it's a low fidelity wireframe, be sure to tell them it's a low fidelity wireframe. Make sure you ask them to think aloud, and of course, don't forget to thank them for taking time to test your game. They are doing you a service after all. Now, if you're playtesting in person or on a call with them as they're playtesting, do not, I repeat, do not give them hints or tell them how to play the game unless it's absolutely necessary. When your game is out there in the wild, players aren't going to have a developer sitting over their shoulder telling them how to play the game. You need to keep quiet while they play so you can keep the information you're gathering as realistic as it can be. Now, obviously, it's fine to chat a bit, just do your best to avoid helping them play your game. As you watch people play your game and gather feedback, it's important to know exactly what you're looking for. Too commonly, I see developers get overwhelmed with the amount of feedback they get, or they think that every little thing their playtesters say needs to be implemented. That's not necessarily the case. Just because one playtester doesn't like the way your character jumps doesn't mean everyone dislikes the way your player jumps. What you're really looking for in these playtests are prominent trends. If 3 or 4 playtesters complain about the jump, now it's something you probably need to look at. As you go into a round of playtests, you want to be prepared with a list of things you're looking for. If, for example, you're making a platformer, you might be looking at how easily your players understand the level designs. If you're making a visual novel, maybe your focus is instead on how well they resonate with the story. You could even be looking for really high-level stuff, like, is your game actually fun? Whatever it is you're looking for, it's important to keep in mind that your players don't necessarily need to know what you're looking for. Commonly seeing what they do is as important, if not more important, than hearing what they say. So one of the biggest skills you can develop as a game maker is the ability to understand what your players don't say as they play your game. Are they getting frustrated? Are they getting bored? Or do they light up when something fun happens? Maybe they don't want to put the controller down because they want to give the challenge just one more try. A key factor in getting the most out of your playtests relies on your ability to truly understand what your player is feeling as they play your game, spoken or unspoken. Now, conducting and evaluating playtests is great and all, but none of it matters if you don't do something about it. So as you take notes, make sure you're also keeping track of action items. Are there levels you plan to change, dialogue you plan to update, artwork that you need to prioritize? Write all of that down, then go and implement those changes in your game. Once those changes are in, go test your game again. Then take those new findings, update your game, and test it again. Depending on the scope of your project and how much bandwidth you can have anywhere from 1 iteration to many as you go through this process. Every project is different in that regard. Really, what I'm getting at here is that playtesting is an iterative process. You don't need to limit it to just 1 round of playtests. I've also seen people go the opposite direction and playtest too much. Honestly, it could be a nearly endless process if you're too much of a perfectionist about it. You'll have to find the right balance and define your own goals of where your game needs to be finished playtesting. Sometimes that's defined by quality, sometimes it's simply defined by how much time you have. Okay, so that about wraps things up for this video. I realized it was a bit less conventional having a tutorial that didn't delve into code or game engine functionality, but I think this is a critical part of developing games that is far too often overlooked or even skipped entirely. So hopefully you were able to get a lot of valuable insights, not only on the importance of playtesting, but how to do it effectively. And of course, I also need to sing GameMaker's praises one more time before wrapping up. None of this process would be possible without a tool to make games in the first place, and GameMaker is just such a fantastic engine. So if you're looking for a place for tutorials and tips from pro developers who've made their games in GameMaker, you're already in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and stay dialed in so you can apply everything you're learning to games of your own. Now get out there, find people, and playtest your game.